Hard to believe already on April 4th, it was the 5th annual Mel Kirshner Memorial Golf Outing over there at the Pac West. Nobody was surprised when the Truckies and the Reynolds took the prize this time. On with us here is Joe Truckey. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we had a good time. It was nice out. You know, we kind of feel guilty out here in Southern California. Our weather has been beautiful. And, you know, you hear all this talk about, first it was global warming, now it's climate change or whatever.
Oh, you're rubbing it in, Joe. You're rubbing it in. But you are bionic. I know you got the knees to prove it. I know Mr. Reynolds has got some man-made parts inside him these days, too. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, well, Bob got around the course okay. He played well. You know, his son, also, Rob, he's a scratch golfer. And he came over from Florida. He said he hadn't played in a while, but it didn't seem to make a difference. He hits the ball 60, 70, 80 yards further than any of us. But to have my brother on the team and me on the team and Bob Reynolds on the team, I mean, we could have done a lot better. We didn't, though.
Any reason for that?
No, sometimes you play better, sometimes you don't, you know. I think, though, that we played well enough to win. I mean, I think we won by 6 strokes. I don't think there was any stronger teams out there this year like there were last year. And there were some teams last year that would have given us a run for our money. But we played good together, had a good time.
Yeah, if memory serves correct, the Laymans took the day last year, and I think you folks were out of it. Bob Reynolds, of course, from In Sequel, and the Truckey brothers. That's a tough bill to come up across. Who did come in second this time around, Joe?
I'm not sure. There was no payout. There was no payout for second place. So I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, Kevin Chavez at Star Stainless, I believed. You know, most of the gifts were just raffles and stuff like that, because it's a fundraiser. You're trying to raise money.
Yeah, I saw that occur in our checkbook, so I'm well aware of that. But it's a good cause, and I saw the pictures. Looks like you guys had a great time. Of course, congratulations to Kevin over there at Ababa for winning the FTR 30-pack of Busch Light.
Why not just regular Busch?
Do they even make that?
Sure they do. But that's all on the East Coast, isn't it?
Well, it goes to show what I know. We're awash in old rusty bolt here in the Midwest.
Yeah.
So when you're out there on the course, Joe, do you ever find yourself looking at your golf club real closely and saying, oh, Billy, oh, Billy, oh, Billy, oh, Billy? I mean, do people really do that?
No. You might say, oh, God, help. You know, something like that. Help me.
Well, congratulations, Team Truckey, Team Reynolds. Another Mel Kirshner Memorial in the bag.
Well, thank you. Hey, thanks for sponsoring. I mean, it was a good cause.
It was. It is. We'll be there for you next time around. Thanks for joining us, Joe.
Okay, Eric. You take care.
It's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
It is Fully Threaded Radio, voice of the FCH Sourcing Network. Hey everybody, I'm Eric Dudas, he's Brian Musker, and we're coming to you today from the FTR studios in the heart of the Fastener Country. That's in Chicago to be exact. And we heard at the top of the show today, congratulations go to Team Truckey and Reynolds for their victory at the 5th annual Mel Kirshner golf outing. Any surprises there, Bri?
No, I would have. I think someone must have rigged the books in allowing that pack to actually form a team.
The only time they're not in the running is when they don't play, and due to various medical issues, that sometimes happens. But it sounds like they won handily this time around. You're not much of a golfer yourself, are you, Bri?
No. I learned that there's certain things I would try and be good at many years ago, and golfing was not one of them. I couldn't seem to control the ball the way I wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you're a man of discriminating tastes. Now, I'm going to also guess you're not really into bubblegum either, are you?
No. And where I grew up, it was considered very, very bad if you were seen chewing anything, okay, in public.
Yes, well, as I was trying to put some kind of a theme together today, the world is such a weird place. I just decided to kind of do something a little bit crazy, as we'll discuss later in the show. I think everybody will get a kick out of it. Change of pace, not predominantly fastener related whatsoever.
Right. Now, we used to see all these movies of American kids chewing gum, and our parents had forbidden us ever to be seen doing that in public.
Golf, on the other hand, I'm sure was encouraged. You just didn't get into that. And speaking of that, just at the top of the show here, before I let it pass, the MWFA golf event is going to be coming up in June. That's in connection, of course, with the MWFA Tabletop Show. That happens in June in the Chicago area. Get out there to their website. You can sign up online. The night of June 23rd, they've got Glow Golf, which was a big hit last time. And then the next day on the 24th is their golf outing proper. www.mwfa.net for details and to sign up on that. So as I said, Bri, we have a whole lot of fastener-related and not really fastener-related stuff today to jam in, but our feature today is a conversation with incoming IFI chairman, Mr. Mark Quebbeman. Had a very, very good talk with him. I think we covered a lot of ground. Also, joining us from globalfastenernews.com, Jason Sandefur has a kind of a bizarre story, caught my eye, and we invited him on to talk about it a little bit. And
Nice.
And then he's also going to talk about the situation developing in Taiwan, which some people have caught on to. Also, during Mike McNulty's Fastener News Report, Holden Lewis will be presenting the FDI numbers, but he's also got a little bit of commentary on this whole Taiwan situation. So it's a jam-packed show, Bri.
Right, yeah. And I just want to make one more comment about golf. Both my parents were excellent golfers, and my mother ran a single-digit handicap right into her 70s. And I realized as a teenager that it was going to be disastrous if I ran the rest of my life not being able to beat my mother at golf. So there's a good reason for me to switch to another sport.
You just got sick of getting blown out, huh?
Yeah, right.
Well, we've got our usual great lineup of sponsors again with us today, Bri, and why don't you tell us who they are?
Yeah, right. The title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Stellfast and Trinity Hardware Headquarters. Stellfast, for service you deserve and people you trust. And Trinity Hardware Headquarters, for parts done right. Also, Buckeye Fasteners, Volt Industrial Plastics, Fastenal, and Solution Industries, home of Solution Man. So thanks to all of you for being sponsors, and if you're a listener of Fully Threaded, make sure you reward the people who reward us and buy product from them.
Excellent advice, Bri. And I should have pointed out that this is episode 81 of Fully Threaded Radio. We're so glad to have you on board with us today. We're publishing just a little bit late this time due to more weirdness in the world, which I won't go into. But we'll be right back after these messages and get this fandango going. When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stellfast. Since 1976, Stellfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stellfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stellfast today through our website at www.stellfast.com and put us to work for you. Stellfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
Mick Jagger once said, "You can't always get what you want." Well, that's just not the case with Trinity Hardware Headquarters. You can get what you want, and you can get it fast. With over 30,000 varieties of fasteners and new lines of package clamps, carriage bolts, and plow bolts, you've entered fastener paradise. Trinity Hardware Headquarters also provides a long list of services to complete your fastener experience. New services such as custom packaging, kitting and polybagging, mill shipments, hold and release and pallet or quarter keg shipments make Trinity Hardware Headquarters your one-stop shopping destination. They also offer secondary services such as patching, machining, drilling, coatings and platings, and parts to print or industry standards. You know, Mick also complained about not getting any satisfaction. He just hasn't yet come to Trinity Hardware Headquarters. And don't forget, you can order 24/7 online from trinityhardwarehq.com or call 888-232-1010 anytime. Trinity Hardware Headquarters for parts done right.
First, there was fire, and man said, "Fire good." Then there was the wheel, and man said, "Wheel good." With the invention of the wheel came the need for fasteners, and man loudly exclaimed, "Buckeye good." Buckeye Fasteners, providing quality products since the dawn of man. The preceding message was brought to you by Buckeye Fasteners and the Ohio Nut and Bolt Company, proud fastener show sponsors of Old Rusty Bolt Beer, official beer of the Traveling Salesman. Tell 'em Grog sent you. Ugh.
My customer sent me a print for a bolt specifically for the machine in his shop, but we can't make it.
Solution Man can. Provide me with a print, and my superhuman CNC machining team will custom make it for you faster than a manufacturer's rep drinking at an open bar. Visit the Solution Industries website for details at solutionind.com.
Wow, that is fast.
So are you at the Distributive Social, huh?
Hi, this is Jeff Gagliano from CSM Fastener Products. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric, your non-gum chewing, non-golf playing fastener amigos back with you.
I guess that sort of makes us a bit boring.
Hey, we do other things.
Oh, okay, you're right. We fish and program and run FCH.
We certainly do that. And speaking of FCH, we're the guys who bring you the FCH Sourcing Network, everybody. That's at the website www.fastenersclearinghouse.com. It's a huge online network. We hope you're all out there using it whenever you need to find fastener inventory that's hard to find, or you're just temporarily out of stock, or you're looking for a new vendor. You're also welcome to get your inventory listed up there and use the network to generate sales. We'll make your phone ring if you play your cards right. A lot of interesting things going on now, Brian, particularly this whole source finder enhancement where you're adding photo capability. That's going to be just fantastic.
Right, actually. And, you know, we actually had this ability for ages. We never really published it. But what we're doing is we're working to bring it to the phone, which seems to be the logical place for it to sit, because that's where you can point your phone at something and take a picture of it. So that's where the development effort's really going at the moment. Okay, we've got test versions of it running already, and should be ready for prime time in a few weeks.
For those of you who use the network, Source Finder is really a broadcast RFQ system that's built right into the website. If you're ever really looking for a hard-to-find item, nobody seems to list it, you can use that. And I think this tool is going to help people who either don't understand the product that they're looking for, or maybe they're newer in the industry, or it's just a really weird part. And we've had a lot of people mention to us they'd be interested in it, so that's really cool. On another front, Bri, I guess you've been coasting a little bit on the security front in the midst of all this upheaval, isn't that right?
Right, yeah, when we started off FCH 6-7 years ago, we decided to make it secure, even though it wasn't that necessary apparently. And so all of you have come to know that if you see a little anchor padlock sign up above your browser, that means you're using secure communications. and everything was lovely until a couple of weeks ago when the news came out that one of the major implementations of the secure was actually not secure at all due to just an absolute programming error. Now, I can tell you that by a fluke, and we're very lucky to say that FCH is not at all susceptible to this error, okay? In other words, the software IBM chose, and ours is based on IBM technology, is immune from this flaw. Thank God, okay? I'm surprised that no one of the hundreds of people who, communicate with FCH and put their names and passwords and things every day into these requests for information, no one's asked us anything about this. But don't worry about using FCH because your communications are secure, even with SSL.
And again, folks, this is the Heartbleed Open SSL vulnerability that's been in the news lately. It's actually been out there for about 2 years. I guess it was just discovered. And one report I read said about 70% of all the PCs on the planet are susceptible to it.
And and probably in most Android phones too.
But not FCH.
No, or iPhones. He says smugly smiling. Okay? Seriously, folks, look after your security. You don't give your key, backdoor key or front door key to everyone you meet. You should be concerned about this and change your passwords and do things to keep yourself secure, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, this whole incident, I count this as one of the 164 weirdnesses that's come up in the last few weeks. I mean, it's everywhere you look. I mean, you got paramilitary people going after ranchers. You got bodybuilding steroid using fastener charlatans, as we're going to hear in a minute. I mean, whatever. Hey, changing the subject, folks. One place you can use your safe phone or your Android phone, depending on how you roll. It's the NCFA Distributor Social that's coming up May 8th. They've done something kind of exciting this year over there at the North Coast Fastener Association. They have revamped their scholarship program, and they're going to be announcing the winner of a full ride to the Fastener Training Institute, their July session, which will be held out in Cleveland. Now, you do have to be a member, and you do have to be in attendance at the Distributor Social this time, but it should make it kind of exciting because the winner will be there, and I'm sure there will be all kinds of fanfare and who knows, maybe even some tears. But it's going to be exciting. Get out there. The website for that is www.ncfaonline.com. Read all about it. And in other scholarship news, Bri, I got a email from our friend Robbie Gilchrist.
Okay, yeah.
It's that time of year again. The Gilchrist Foundation is ramping up their annual scholarship, and they're accepting applications now. He's got kind of a crazy email address, so I'm not going to read it. Just go out there and search for Gilchrist Foundation Scholarship. I'm sure you'll find it. Get that application over there as soon as you can if that's something that interests you. And I got another non-scholarship weird email, Bri. This one was proposing what I think is a rather dubious investment opportunity. Not sure if this is equivalent to like the Kenyan general who has $100 million that he wants me to share with him, but I looked into it a little bit, and although I think the investment is a scam, I think that there's a new technology which is really, really kind of crazy sounding, but we're going to have to read up on this, and I just became aware of it. I'm talking about something called sun gas.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And this is a new. It almost sounds like the perpetual motion machine, because if it actually works, it's going to have so many advantages. And again, I'm not endorsing anything here yet, but I got this email. And what do you know about sun gas?
I don't know much about it, but I tried to read up something. I got sent off onto a thread that took me into Australia. It looks like the Australian government was trying to work out how to. It's all aimed at how do we get cheaper energy, okay? And especially something that can come out of the sun's energy. How do you convert sun's energy? Different way, I think.
Yeah, and then there was a CO2 angle at this thing too, because a lot of people obviously are concerned with CO2 emissions, and it almost just sounded too good to be true. And you read the headlines these days. just in general, you don't really know what to believe. I mean, half the time you think it's a spoof, and then it turns out that it's real.
Right. We'll wait and see. Maybe some of our members know more about it than we do, and they can tell us all about it.
Well, Bri, it gets weirder and weirder. You never know what kind of headlines you're going to see in this fastener industry that we're all a part of.
You need to modify where you get your news, I think.
Well, one of the places I get my news is globalfastenernews.com. Fortunately, joining us now, Jason Sandefur from Global Fastener News. Hey, Jason, thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here, Eric.
There was a crazy headline. You don't see these things too often in the fastener world, but this cropped up a couple of days back, and it had to do with somebody getting some prison time for counterfeit fasteners. What was that all about?
It was a bit unusual. The judge in the case labeled this guy sort of a ticking time bomb.
For making rusty nuts and bolts.
Right. He got in trouble initially. He got on the authorities' radar because of some counterfeit fasteners, some critical application fasteners that he sold to the Department of Defense. And apparently they were to be used in military aircraft and in nuclear facilities, and turned out to be bogus. He wrote false certifications on the invoices.
Oh, good. Okay.
But when they searched his home is when it really got interesting. The media has described him as a former bodybuilder who ran.
Excuse me, a former bodybuilder. Okay.
Former bodybuilder. I don't know if he's let things go at this point, or
it's a bit flabby at the moment.
So they found cases of creatine. Is that what you're going to tell us?
For the most part, he actually was indicted for possession of anabolic steroids. They also found 9 guns in his home. Of course, this is the United States, so there's nothing inherently illegal about that.
Correct.
But I guess in concert with the counterfeit fasteners, he was indicted for mail fraud, of all things.
Now, what was he purporting to be delivering, and what did he deliver? Do you have the stats on that, Jason?
What he delivered has been described as defective self-locking nuts to the U.S. military. I'm not sure if they fell apart in some way, or they were simply not up to spec. The Columbus Dispatch, which has been reporting on this, didn't get into specifics on that too much. He did receive about $158,000 in federal contracts in 2009. He ran this fastener company out of his home and shipped them through the U.S. mail to the military.
You know, you'd have to think, if you were sort of assembling an F-18 or something like that, you'd think you'd be buying the nuts and bolts from some company that you'd probably find least listed on the web. I mean, there's plenty of American companies that have been known for years for supplying, beautiful quality fasteners. What are they doing receiving packets of crap in the mail?
I find it really interesting. The takeaway from all this really is that companies across the U.S. Bid on military contracts, especially for replacement parts, through an online process. And generally, the lowest bids are selected to provide the parts, which I understand the need to keep costs down, but
right.
When you're dealing with military aircraft and nuclear facilities, I'm not sure you want the lowest bidder always to be providing things.
Right. This is sort of looks like a really misplaced, attempt to save a few pennies. I mean,
so Jason, the thing that instigated the headline on Global Fastener News was the court case. Is that right? I mean, the sentence was issued and you guys got wind of it. Is that what happened?
Yes, it is. He was indicted on 7 counts, which included mail fraud and possession of anabolic steroids, and also possession of a firearm while in possession of controlled substance.
Wow. All
So
right.
in
Well,
essence-
I think there's a few fastener people out there who, their ears are perking up right now. So be careful, guys.
Yeah, but for God's sake, put the guns away when you've got all your anabolic steroids around.
Right.
Yeah, they probably the nuts coming in up in whey protein was the tip off, and the rest is history.
Right.
Yeah, realize the white powder was creatine, not something else over all the nuts and bolts.
Well, just yet another headline over there at globalfastenernews.com. Jason, the Taiwan Fastener Show occurred earlier in the week. Of course, most people are going to be hearing this. It'll be history. We'll have reportage on that during our next episode. But there was a story swirling around that I think has a lot of people's attention because a lot of people in this industry do handle Taiwanese product. It has to do with environmental, regulations that are coming down, and that's really having some impact. What's going on over there, Jason?
Well, the coating plants many of them have been shut down right now. There was not a superconductor, but a semiconductor supplier that was dumping wastewater into the river there in Taiwan. And they were shut down. And as a result, many of the coating plants in Taiwan were shut down as well for illegal dumping. Apparently, many people in the public there got wind of this and were quite upset by the river being polluted. And it turns out that many of the platers and the treatment facilities were dumping illegally. And so, from what I understand, this has the potential to affect about $1.5 billion worth of fasteners coming out of Taiwan in 2014.
Wow.
So it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I know a lot of people are taking this very seriously. This has also got to be impacting Europe as well.
It is. Germany is the second largest destination for Taiwan fastener exports. Taiwan sends about 9% of its fasteners to Germany, then followed by Japan, the Netherlands. UK gets roughly about 4% of Taiwan's production. And they're saying that this could affect as much as 25% of Taiwan's fastener production this year.
Oh, there's going to be a lot of people looking at their stockpiles of fasteners, I would think.
I would think so, yes. I'm not sure who they turn to. I don't know who's waiting to take up the slack here.
Now, does this seem to be kind of a one-time event, or are the price hits that are being projected, are they going to be built into pricing going forward? Do you have an idea about that?
My understanding is it will be built into pricing going forward. Some of this will affect simply whether the fasteners are available at all.
Yep.
And they do have a solution that they're working on through Taiwan's largest steelmaker, China Steel Corp, which has set up a waste acid and chemical processing base with fastener suppliers. And believe it or not, there are a few electroplating plants in Taiwan that are operating legally. So they're, of course, being hit with a lot of orders right now as well.
Yep, I can imagine. Well, I know this is still in the early days of this story, so hopefully we will be kept abreast. We'll have more details as this unfolds, but a lot of people are taking this very seriously, so we appreciate very much you informing us on what we have so far, Jason Sandefur.
Certainly. Glad to do it, Eric.
Anything else on the horizon you're looking forward to?
Besides warm weather.
We're not allowed to talk about the weather. Only I am, okay?
Right.
I'm not allowed to bitch it all the time.
Yeah, we've had a comparatively mild winter on the West Coast, but we got enough snow that I'm certainly ready for a lot of warm temperatures and lots of sunshine.
Good. Well, I hope you get it and we get it, okay?
Yes.
We're right on the verge, and we're right on the verge of great things in the fastener industry. I'm sure of it. Don't know why, but Jason Sandefur, globalfastenernews.com. You will keep us abreast. Thanks for joining us again, and we'll be right back with more Fully Threaded Radio.
Coming to you across the vast audio radiance of the internet. It's the voice of the FCH Sourcing Network. Fully Threaded Radio.
Ah, Iowa. Field of dreams, Hawkeyes, corn. The only state that starts with 2 vowels. And the home of Trinity Hardware headquarters. What's so special about Trinity Hardware headquarters? How about the fact that offering 30,000 types of fasteners just wasn't enough variety? So they've added new lines of packaged clamps, rib neck carriage bolts, and plow bolts. And who doesn't need new plow bolts after this winter? Trinity Hardware headquarters also has over 600 cushioned clamps made in the USA by KMC, 18 sizes of ribbed neck carriage bolts, and over 40 sizes of plow bolt kits. And that's just the new stuff. They're still stocking their 400,000 square foot warehouse top to bottom with screws, nuts, bolts, washers, fittings, just about any fastener you could possibly need. And you can order 24/7 online from trinityhardwarehq.com or call 888-232-1010 anytime. Trinity Hardware Headquarters, for parts done right.
You can't beat one-on-one personal meetings to maximize business opportunities, and that's exactly what NFDA Executive Sales Planning Sessions are all about. Hi everyone, this is Kevin Reidel of Hodel Natco and the NFDA, inviting you to join us in New Orleans June 17th through the 19th for our annual ESPS meeting, where one-on-one interaction with suppliers and potential customers will be our focus. If you're a longtime member, or if you've been thinking of joining the NFDA, I encourage you to attend this exciting meeting. In addition to high bandwidth interaction and other fantastic fastener industry business content, this meeting will feature a full complement of social opportunities, taking advantage of the best of the Big Easy, the historic city of New Orleans. Take a look at the NFDA website at www.nfda-fastener.org for details, and plan to attend the annual NFDA ESPS meeting June 17th through 19th. I hope to see you there.
Since 1905, Buckeye Fasteners and the Ohio Nut and Bolt Company have been supplying the world with high-quality fasteners. Our standard product lines include weld fasteners, braided weld screws, leg levelers, self-clinching hardware, clevis pins, rivet nuts, and various other fastener lines, allowing us to support virtually all types of industries. We have complete custom manufacturing capabilities in low carbon, medium carbon, and stainless steel materials, and our quality systems are registered to ISO standards. Our on-staff engineering department can assist you with product development and provide total technical support. Our knowledgeable sales team members offer superior customer service and are here to answer any questions you may have regarding our products. Having a hard time finding a part? Let our sourcing specialists do the work for you to locate those items. We offer competitive pricing with typically smaller minimums and shorter lead times. To find out more about Buckeye Fasteners, please call us at 800-437-1689 or on the web at buckeyefasteners.com. Buckeye Fasteners, more than just weld.
When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stellfast. Since 1976, Stellfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stellfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stellfast today through our website at www.stellfast.com and put us to work for you. Stellfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
I don't have time to look for the best price for a socket head cap screw zinc plated with a patch.
Solution Man can. Let me handle all of your secondary processes, and I'll even ship the finished product. One price, one purchase order, one invoice, and one shipment equals one solution. Visit the Solution Industries website for details at solutionind.com.
Solution Man, you're my primary source for secondary processes.
Good one.
This is Jim Saraceni with Accurate Industrial Supply. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric, back with you, doing the job most fastener people just won't do.
Right. Now, does it mean that if I have supplies of protein powder lying around the kitchen that I could also be selling locking screws to the military?
Man.
I mean, this sounds like a great thing. I think I could go into this.
Crazy stuff.
Right. Okay. It would be funny if it wasn't true, actually.
Again, it's one of these things you just don't know whether to believe it or not. Well, everybody, the Fastener News Report is coming right up. This time, Holden Lewis is joining Mike McNulty. They're going to, of course, discuss the latest FDI numbers. And Holden also has a few more comments dovetailing on what Jason was talking about in our previous segment regarding the Taiwanese supplier situation and if and how that's going to affect people. Before we get to that, I was reading online in the latest issue of Link Magazine, Bri. I see our friends over at Pacific Warehouse Sales have a new venture they're announcing.
Oh, okay. Well, you've read this before I did, so.
They're getting into the online rivet business. The enterprise is called Affix, and they've got a nice 2-page spread there. See page 28 of the current link. We'll have to keep our eye on that one.
Okay, yeah.
The sponsors of the Fastener News Report are Volt Industrial Plastics and Fastenal. Our other great sponsors are Stelfast, Trinity Hardware Headquarters, Buckeye Fasteners, and Solution Industries. Happy to tell you, Bri, that the folks over at Volt have joined up with us for the full next coming year. We have a new ad for them we're running this time, so freshening things up a little bit, and it's kind of exciting.
Good, that is true, yeah. And I didn't even have to narrate the ad. I'm sort of sick of hearing my voice. I'm glad that my friends at Trinity have gone away to a proper ad.
Well, a lot of people seem to like what you have to say, Brad. I don't know why you're saying that. But Heidi Voltrauer, of course, over there at Volt, she is also the proprietor of the All-American Fastener Show. The 2015 edition of that show is going to happen this time in Nashville. And previously it was a spring show. And it's interesting because, as we're going to hear during Mike McNulty's back page report, he's talking about conflicting trade shows. And I think she did a good thing kind of getting out of the way of some of the spring events that were happening down there in the Southeast. And this is going to be, I think, probably far enough in advance of the Vegas show where, a lot of people are still going to be able to make both of them. There's not going to be a conflict. And we will see what happens. And looking forward to some of that great barbecue at the 2015 All-American Fastener Show.
So am I, actually. Very much.
So thanks for listening, everybody. Here's the Fastener News Report.
Thanks, Eric and Brian. This is Mike McNulty from Fastener Technology International Magazine, bringing you the Fastener News Report, which is sponsored today by Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners. Last week, I ventured to Europe to attend the Wire 2014 trade show in Dusseldorf, Germany. The show featured a huge exhibit hall filled with state-of-the-art machinery, materials, and accessories for making all types of fasteners. These exhibits helped me stay focused on fasteners while being surrounded by mass quantities of superb German beer and food. Now I am back safe and sound in snowy northeastern Ohio, ready to deliver today's Fastener News Report. In our top story, we're going to get the March 2014 results of FDI, also known as the Fastener Distributor Index. Also in today's report, we have newsmaker headlines from Sherrick's Fastening Solutions, Hague Fasteners, Elgin Fastener Group, Rotor Clip, and the Industrial Fasteners Institute. On the back page report, we're going to talk about trade show scheduling. We will get to all of that and the Fastener Distributor Index results for March right after this.
Whether you need a small or large number of fasteners, there is no reason why you should have to sacrifice quality or service for that matter. Volt Industrial Plastics takes great care with each and every order to ensure you receive a quality fastener in a timely and affordable manner. Our state-of-the-art production equipment allows us to produce any quantity you request quickly and efficiently. And with same-day shipping on nearly 1 million in-stock fasteners, we carry an inventory so you don't have to. Visit us online at voltplastics.com to find out more about our quality American-made products. Volt Industrial Plastics, manufacturer of the finest plastic fasteners in the world.
For a selection of hundreds of thousands of fasteners, check out your local Fastenal store or Fastenal.com. We can stock domestic or internationally sourced product locally and keep your bin stock filled for you at no additional expense. We are a 9001-2008 certified company that's made a huge investment in quality control so you don't have to. And if you can't find it on our shelf, we can make it for you at the quantity you need at one of our many manufacturing facilities. Learn more by contacting your local Fastenal store or visiting Fastenal.com today.
Mike McNulty.
In March, the FDI continued on its path of stability with a result of 50, a slight drop from the February data. The Fastener Distributor Index data is collected and analyzed by BB&T Capital Markets and the FCH Sourcing Network, and it seeks to identify demand, pricing, and outlook trends within the American fastener industry. To get the story on the somewhat disappointing results, we talked to Holden Lewis of BB&T Capital Markets. Hi, Holden. Thanks for joining us on the Fastener News Report.
Good afternoon, Mike. As always, happy to be here.
Glad you can make it. Now, what can you tell us about these results for March?
Well, the number has actually gotten a little bit worse over the past 5 consecutive months, and that resulted in a March figure that came in at an even 50. And for those people that are watching the FDI, it's the diffusion index, and you know that 50 is really the demarcation point between expansion and contraction. The good news is we've spent many, many months above that 50 mark. So that really has been reflective of a slow growth sort of environment. The bad news is that this month we hit 50. Now, as I say, every single month we need to put this data into some perspective. People on my side of what we do on Wall Street, we tend to hyperventilate over every tenth of a basis point. But the truth of the matter is, over the last 5 months, the FDI has sort of ranged between 50 and 52. And frankly, there's not a lot of difference in a reading of 50 versus a reading of 52 in terms of what it means for the overall macro environment. So when I look at this reading in March of 50, certainly it's not welcome that it has continued to slide ever so slightly for the past 4 or 5 months. But by the same token, at this point, people aren't expecting a lot. And, anything between 50 and 52 really kind of reflects the same thing, which is an environment of slow growth. Now, if there is any disappointment in the number, I would argue it really doesn't have anything to do with the number at all. It has to do with the fact that, March would have been a month where weather wasn't an issue, for instance. People might have been getting back to sort of more normal activity levels. And that didn't happen in the March data. But again, it's not something that I think reflects any sort of downward inflection at this point. I think the environment is very much the same, and that is conditions are continuing to grow, but at a very slow rate. And that's the environment people have gotten accustomed to, and the environment that at this point anyway, we remain in.
So in other words, even though it was a 5th straight month of decline, it's pretty modest decline and no reason to panic.
That's right. It's all pretty marginal. It's all pretty incremental. There's no reason to panic. In fact, we also always say when adding some perspective that you have to look at the entirety of the data set that you have at your availability. And I would point out that we at BB&T recently had our commercial and industrial conference, which brought together a lot of the different industrial firms down into Florida to talk to institutional investors, things like that. We also have entered what we call the earnings season, where companies are being to confess how they did in the most recent quarter. And I would use the data that we're pulling out of those events to sort of augment what we're getting out of the FDI. And what we're getting We recently had Fastenal report earnings. We recently had MSC report earnings. The numbers were basically right in line with expectations. There was a bit better growth. I think that was mostly comparison related, that more than it was the markets. Recently, or actually today, we had a company, sort of a European bearing company report earnings, and they had some commentary about perhaps they're still seeing a little bit of destocking in North American distribution. Basically, through earnings season, which compiles the results through March, people aren't seeing much. But by the same token, when you sit down with some of the executives of these companies and you ask them, step away from March and look into April, May, sort of next 6 months, I think you get a similar tone out of these companies, which is to say they're starting to feel better. And I would put quotes around that feel, because obviously it's a pretty subjective thing, but nonetheless, the tone and the body language of executives, I would say even versus 2 months ago, has begun to get a little bit better. And so, yeah, the current environment is very much what we have been seeing. That's what the FDI is telling us. But the body language is beginning to get better, which is exactly what the FDI's outlook statement continues to tell us. Most people, in excess of half the respondents, continue to be favorable about the next 6 months. So you take the picture as a whole, and yeah, it's another comment we're going to say it's more of the same. But what is different is that commentary feels like it's beginning to get a little bit better, and so perhaps that is a precursor to starting to see some better readings coming down the pike here. But I would say that the FDI was not a great reading, but I do like what I'm hearing out of executives and earnings reports and things of that sort at this point. People expect better coming up.
Well, that's good. Now you touched on the high expectations with the weather supposedly breaking. I mean, I can tell you in Ohio that March was not a great turnaround in weather, so maybe it's kind of a subdued improvement from the weather. Do you think that's possible?
Could be, although lately I've been judging weather impacts by the number of school days that gets canceled for my kids, and there are far fewer in March than we saw in January and February. So I think it was better. I think the adjustments people made were better. And again, I would have expected a bit of a lift from that. But look, at the same time, it's entirely possible that people responding to these surveys is sort of adjusting their expectations for the weather and trying to sort of feel out the underlying market. Data is pretty subjective. It's based on sort of feel, and it is very difficult to sort of get a real good gauge about how much of an impact the weather had. We have seen reports from some of these earnings, and for Fastenal and MSC, March was clearly far less impacted by weather than was the case for January and February. And it's just that, as you pointed out, it can be very difficult to really place a number on weather, and that was something that companies have said during earnings as well.
Right. Well, you're right. The school closings have stopped, but that might have something to do with reaching the maximum, and people are panicked. They don't want to go longer into the school year, but that's a different story.
At this point, they'll do anything not to
go
be
one
in school
extra
in
day.
July.
Yeah, right. Reach their quota. All right. The supplemental question this time was, what do you expect from margins in 2014? What did you find out?
It was actually good news. And the reason we asked the question is because it seems like as we have compiled information, it seems like an environment that is not particularly conducive to margin expansion. We continue to see low volume growth. Pricing in the field seems relatively modest, yet people are responding to doing more hiring. There's the risk of higher pricing coming from the masters that may be tough to pass through with low volumes. There's just the routine inflation from healthcare and routine raises, things like that. And it just felt like an environment where perhaps it might be difficult to envision much in the way of margin expansion. And I think that when the folks who expressed an opinion on this, only about a quarter of them had much fear that their margins would be down in 2014. And we expressed this in terms of operating margin, not gross margin, just because there's some items out there that affect the OpEx line as well. But only about a quarter felt that their margins would be down, whereas 54%, the remaining 75% or so kind of felt like margins could be, flat to up. Now, some of those folks, it really did hinge on volume. That's neither unreasonable nor to be unexpected, and we have to see how the volume plays out. But nonetheless, given the various headwinds that I cited at the beginning, it was certainly comforting to hear that people felt that either volume was going to come to the rescue, or that they had other levers to pull to support margin expansion, even in a relatively stagnant environment. And so, not a lot of fear out there as it relates to margins in the fastener industry.
Well, that is a pretty good response. Now, the last thing I wanted to discuss with you is, about a week and a half ago or so, a couple weeks ago, there was some reports coming out of Taiwan that the fastener people, or manufacturing people in general, are going to be getting some new environmental pressures or issues that may inhibit their ability to keep prices down and or to deliver fasteners. Are you hearing anything about those reports?
Have heard about this from a couple of places. I would emphasize that this falls far short of making me an expert on the subject. It's something that we're trying to get more information on, and perhaps at the next taping we will have some better detail. But from a couple of sources, we have heard that the Taiwanese authorities, for environmental reasons, have begun to crack down on certain manufacturers, which could affect the fastener industry in the sense that some of those manufacturers, are producers of product, and it may be less available going forward. And if that is the case, then you could have, a situation where supply might get a little bit shorter, pricing may go up. And that's the interesting part of this to me. Again, we need more detail, but it's the pricing piece. Because what have we seen the last few months? We've seen Bright & Best, by all reports, raising prices for their fasteners. Now we're hearing of potentially Taiwanese suppliers perhaps having to shut down some manufacturing capacity. All of this has got to put some pressure, to raise prices in the market. So something which has been relatively stagnant, especially if volume gets a little bit better, pricing has to come to the fore as a way of coping. And I think the real challenge may not be getting some pricing, but it might be managing the price-cost relationship. And this is all very premature. We have yet to see this sort of buffet the market. We're interested to see how this plays out in upcoming months. But it'll be interesting to see if all of these issues, volume, Bright & Best, Taiwanese issues, begin to push pricing through. And it'll be interesting to see if conditions are such that you can manage that price-cost relationship sufficiently, again, to defend margins. So, the listeners of this report know that business never stays still. That is certainly the case here, and we'll see how the tone around these events are going to change in upcoming months.
We will see. Now, there's a fastener show going on in Taiwan right now. It could be that we'll be getting some feedback from that show, and possibly later on in the radio program today. But we look forward to hearing more about that, as well as the months ahead to see where the FDI goes.
That's right.
Okay. Well, Holden, thanks for joining us again and for sharing your insight, and we'll look forward to talking to you next month.
All right. Thanks again, Mike. It's been a pleasure.
That was Holden Lewis of BB&T Capital Markets. Holden has a regular column on the FDI that appears in the print and digital editions of Fastener Technology International magazine. Next up, today's top fastener newsmaker headlines. Sherrick Fastening Solutions in Tonawanda, New York, has appointed James Pickren as Chief Executive Officer. Pickren joins Adam Pratt, Sherrick's president, in leading the Sherrick's team in the USA and in Europe in supplying fasteners, tooling, and installation automation systems. Hague Fasteners of the UK has been manufacturing custom fasteners for global industrial use for over 40 years, and it has just released the Hague Screw Thread Calculator app for the iPhone. Hague calls this new app the Ideal Engineer's Thread Companion. Coverage includes unified Whitworth, ISO, and custom threads. Elgin Fastener Group, also known as EFG, has announced that Joe Hertz retired on March 28, 2014, after devoting 37 years to the fastener industry. Hertz began his fastener career in the mid-1970s as an inside sales correspondent at Ohio Rod Products in Versailles, Indiana, and he finished it this year as EFG's Director of Sales, leaving a lasting legacy of customer development and service that will be difficult to surpass. Rotor Clip Company in Somerset, New Jersey, has recently met all the requirements for an AS9100 certification. Rotor Clip can now offer the aerospace industry a one-stop shop for tapered, constant section, and spiral retaining rings, wave springs, and self-compensating hose clamps. And our top newsmaker headline is a robust double story from the Industrial Fasteners Institute, IFI, in Independence, Ohio. First up, the 2014 IFI Soaring Eagle Award for Technology was presented to recently retired Ralph S. Schoberg. The IFI Soaring Eagle Technology Award recognizes individuals who have made a significant contribution to the technological advancement of the fastener industry. Schoberg was a pioneer in the development and use of electronics in the testing, measurement, and control of the threaded fastener tightening process. The second part of the IFI story, it has announced its leadership positions for the next year. The newly elected IFI chairman is Mark Quebbeman of Semblex Corporation, and he's coming up on the next segment of Fully Threaded Radio. And the newly elected IFI vice chairman is Dave Lomisny of McLean Fogg Component Solutions. The IFI board of directors includes Steve Paddock of Bolhoff, J.J. McCoy of Nucor Fastener, Jim Springer of Industrial Nut, Jeff Leiter of Elgin Fastener Group, O.E. Carlson of Alcoa Fastening Systems, Ryan Kinslow of PCC PB Fasteners, Mike Lawler of Penn Engineering, Jason Serber of ATF, and Matt DeLauder of SWD. The division chairs for the upcoming year of the IFI are Kevin Johnson of Birmingham Fastener for the Industrial Products Division, Mike Lawler of Penn Engineering for the Aerospace Fasteners Division, Ed Lum of Shannon Precision Fastener for the Automotive Fastener Division, and Chris White of O&K American for the Suppliers Division. Finally, let's turn to the back page for a report on trade show scheduling. At the top of the Fastener News Report, I mentioned the fastener manufacturing section of the Wire 2014 show in Dusseldorf, Germany. Several hundred exhibitors were on hand, and it was a great event to attend. The quality of the exhibits were probably the best that I've ever seen in over 20 years of attending this trade show. The attendance levels were also solid, but according to exhibitor feedback that I received, the results were dampened slightly by the fact that Fastener Fair Hanover was being staged in Germany at the exact same time, about 2.5 hours away by car. Since the Fastener Fair exhibitor companies are likely visitors to the fastener making exhibits in Dusseldorf, there seemed to be a slight reduction in attendance. I talked to several people that thought that this scheduling overlap was stupid and selfish, and I have to agree. Of these shows, the Wire Show in Dusseldorf is older, and it always takes place the week before Easter. So the Fastener Fair Hanover folks should have known of the conflict in advance. Competition is fine, but this type of overlap doesn't help anyone except maybe the Fastener Fair Hanover organizers. Fastener-related trade show overlap has happened in the USA before, with conflicts between the Las Vegas Fastener Show and the STAFTA Show. Again, in these cases, it's hard to find any winners with that type of scheduling. As a matter of respect to the industry, as well as to the marketing and travel budgets that people have, event organizers should avoid direct conflicts unless the events are actually co-located and complementary to each other. This has been Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International, bringing you the Fastener News Report. Remember to send your news, pictures, comments, corrections, or complaints to me at mcnulty@fastenertech.com.
Incoming IFI Chairman Mark Quebbeman is up next on Fully Threaded. When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stelfast. Since 1976, Stelfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stelfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stelfast today through our website at www.stelfast.com and put us to work for you. Stelfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
Hi everyone, it's Brian Musker. If you're listening to Fully Threaded, then you're no doubt aware of the FCH sourcing network found at fastenersclearinghouse.com. You've probably also heard about our legendary scrubber software that makes listing your inventory on FCH a snap. But have you heard about the new FCH SmartLink interface? With SmartLink, users of Business Edge, InSequel, and Distribution One have a new weapon in the war against excess inventory, because each of these platforms now links directly to the FCH scrubber system through an automated interface. The best part is that this new tool is available at no additional charge to FCH members who use Business Edge, InSequel, or Distribution One. With SmartLink, you can keep your inventory listings up to date with the click of a button, so it's a win-win for all FCH users. The new FCH FastLink interface is really big news, and we'll be thrilled to have your company using it. Business Edge, InSequel, and Distribution One users should contact their software provider for details, or just call me, Brian Musker. You can reach me through the FCH website at www.fastenersclearinghouse.com. That's fasteners with an S, and the S is for scrubber.
Whether you need a small or large number of fasteners, there is no reason why you should have to sacrifice quality or service for that matter. Volt Industrial Plastics takes great care with each and every order to ensure you receive a quality fastener in a timely and affordable manner. Our state-of-the-art production equipment allows us to produce any quantity you request quickly and efficiently. And with same-day shipping on nearly 1 million in-stock fasteners, we carry an inventory so you don't have to. Visit us online at voltplastics.com to find out more about our quality American-made products. Volt Industrial Plastics, manufacturer of the finest plastic fasteners in the world.
In this economy, I need to cut cost and freight, or I'll lose my customer.
Solution Man, Ken. The more you order, the more you'll save. With free freight on orders over $1,000. See the Solution Industries website for details at solutionIND.com.
Solution Man, you're my fastener hero.
Just doing my job, ma'am.
This is JR from JHB Fasteners, the precision fabricators and distributors' #1 source. Come visit us and the Fully Threaded crew on Facebook and Twitter for the latest in fastener news and facts. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric back with you, Fully Threaded. Well, Brian, we've made a virtual career out of inadvertently insulting members of the fastener industry and
insulting them by even getting their names wrong, as I noticed last week too, incidentally.
Yes, completely inadvertently, though, in most cases, folks.
Right.
And we've got a gentleman with us for our feature segment today. His day job is Vice President of Sales and Marketing over at Semblex. He's Mark Quebbeman. Hey, Mark, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Eric.
So how can we murder your name again, okay?
I got it right that time, Bri.
I would just keep it on a first-name basis.
Yes, the incident in question happened a couple of years ago when I was moderating a panel discussion at the Pac West. And, Mark, you were on that panel. And, oh, man, I don't know. I guess I had a case of nerves, but I think I added a few extra consonants in there. And I'll never live that one down.
Well, it's an unusual name, and you're not the first person to mispronounce it in my life. So I wouldn't worry about it.
Well, it's good of you to join us today. I was scanning the headlines the other day, and I see that you are going to be, for the next year, the chairperson or the chairman of the Industrial Fasteners Institute. And congratulations on that, Mark.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it. It's for those of you who may not be completely familiar with the IFI, we're an organization of North American-based fastener manufacturers, cold headers. It's a very strong, thriving, dynamic organization. Our focus is to make sure that we're providing value to our members. And a lot of that is done by looking at the industry and the driving issues of the industry today. A lot of those issues have to do with things like training and recruitment, because nobody seems to have enough people, or at least the properly skilled people, to do the things that they need done to satisfy our customers. Business is, for the most part, I think pretty strong, certainly in the automotive sector. And so that's one of the areas that we're looking at to continue to provide value to our members. That, along with our technical support, the IFI Technical Connection. A lot of companies in the industry and a lot of our customers have subscriptions to the Technical Connection, and it is a fantastic engineering resource that Joe Greenslade, along with support from other IFI staff and other IFI members, have put together, and it's a fantastic program. And there's a lot of other different types of technical support that we provide. And then, of course, we also provide a lot of other information, industry benchmarking information, economic information, and so on. So it's a great source. It's a great source of information that's going to help companies adjust to the market conditions and the economic conditions of the day. So it's a very good organization.
Let me point out for listeners that the website for the Industrial Fasteners Institute is www.indfast.org. It's a very well done site, jam-packed with information, Mark. And thanks for pointing all that out. You know, as we were talking before we started recording here for this segment, probably our listener community is more heavily based on the distribution side. And but there's a whole lot of information for distributors that I think they could glean out of the IFI and the website and so forth. So thanks for pointing some of that out.
You're welcome. There's a lot of distributors that I mentioned that the Technology Connection. There's a number of distributors that have subscriptions to that, and there's a lot of renewals of those subscriptions. So I think it's not just manufacturers that are getting benefit from the different things that the IFI does. It's everybody in the industry.
Well, the IFI standards would affect all of the distributors for a start.
Absolutely.
And on that vein, can I ask you a question a little bit like the Emperor's Clothes question? I know that the standards that the IFI produces are very, very important, but why is there different standards bodies in the US? How does that make sense? I mean, that, you know, the ASME would be making standards for a hex bolt, but the IFI would be, controlling and maintaining the standards for a flange nut or bolt.
You know, Brian, I'm not the person to ask that question to, or at least to answer it. The best person to ask that question would be Mr. Greenslade.
Joe Greenslade's been with us on the show a couple of times in the past, and I think we're probably due to have him back again. That's a great question, Brian, and I guess we'll have to wait on it. Let me ask you this, Mark, and we'll talk more about the Industrial Fasteners Institute in a moment, but what's your history in the industry, and how did you finally arrive at the chairmanship?
Well, I started more or less out of college back, I won't tell you when, it was just a long time ago, let's leave it at that. And I started working in the industry when I was hired by Camcar for their sales development program. And that was back in the day that their sales development program really was modeled on some other very highly regarded sales training programs like the one at IBM and some other companies. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was a fantastic program. It was about 1.5 to 2 year training program.
Wow.
And it was very, very extensive. You learned everything there was to know about the product, the manufacturing process, who the people were within the company that were going to be your resources, and how to navigate within that company to get things done. So after my 1.5-year training, I took a sales territory based in Denver, and I covered the Rocky Mountain West. And despite the fact that there were a lot of other fastener salespeople at the time that had a lot more experience than myself or anybody else who graduated from the sales development program, we knew our product, our manufacturing capabilities, and how our company worked better than anybody else. And I think that made us a pretty effective sales force. And if you look at the growth of Camcar from, let's say, the early 70s through the early 90s, in that 20-year period or so, the growth, especially in the niches that we were pursuing with proprietary cost-saving, value-added type products was absolutely phenomenal. Mm-hmm. So I started off, I had a sales territory out west for about 5 or 6 years, and then I moved to our division in Rochester, Indiana, where I was a product manager and had responsibility in that role for customer service and application engineering. It was basically the sales and marketing manager for that division. And then after 5 or 6 years there, I took a regional sales manager's job with Camcar and relocated down to Louisville, Kentucky, and was there until the late 90s when I briefly left the industry, because the grass is always greener, right? Yeah. And I moved to a startup company in the telecommunications industry. My timing couldn't have been worse. Yeah. And I ended up losing my job, and decided, you know what? After a couple of years of trying to learn everything about telecommunications, I realized that it might not be a bad idea to get back to what I know.
Yeah, nuts and bolts aren't so bad after all.
Right. So I ended up back at Semblex, working for Jim Wittersheim, and then for one of my old mentors at Camcar, Bob Rothkopf, and now Don Cunningham. So, and I've been, since I got here, I've been the VP of Sales and Marketing.
You know what they say, Mark, once you're in, you're not getting out. Absolutely.
You know, we tell people that all the time young people, when they hire into the company, it's like, you're going to be here. You don't think that this is going to be just a short-term little experience for you. Once you're in the fastener industry, you don't get out. It's like Hotel California.
Right. Now, let me ask you this. You must have had some association with the Institute. You don't just immediately become chairman. How did that all fall into place?
Well, when Jim Wittersheim was our company delegate or representative to the IFI, was very, very active and had a number of leadership roles there. When he left the company, I was made, Dan Harther and Bob Rothkopf made me the representative from Semblex. So I started going to meetings and got to know some people and so on, and eventually got involved in the Division 3 activities. Division 3 is all the automotive. IFI has basically 4 different divisions. Division 1 is industrial, Division 2 is aerospace, Division 3 is automotive, and then we have an associate or supplier division.
I guess that's where a fastener sourcing networks would fit.
Exactly. And we've got, Semblex has involvement or is a member through Division 1 and Division 3. And I was attending Division 3 meetings and eventually got tapped to be the Division 1 vice chair and then chairman a number of years ago. And then following that, I got selected to serve as a member of the board of directors for the IFI. And following that, my predecessor, Steve Paddock, gave me a call about 1.5 years ago and asked me if I would be interested in being his vice chair, which I was very honored to do that, and had a year as vice chair and treasurer, and then after this last meeting that we had the very first part of March, I became chairman.
Wow, you have been caught up in it a while, then.
Yeah, it's been a great experience, though. It's like I said before, it's a very, very good. It's a dynamic organization. It's a very open and welcoming organization, and everybody I think that's a member of it is first of all, I think most people are active to some degree or another. In some cases, that just means that they come and participate in meetings, but there's a lot of people who are active in other ways that take on leadership roles and so on. But everybody is very open, and it's not an organization that has little cliques or has little groups off to the side that do their own thing. Even from the supplier standpoint to the various divisions, there's a lot of networking and camaraderie, and it's a good time. But I think that there's also a lot of value that everybody gets out of it.
Yeah. Well, that's really great to hear. Once again, we were talking with Mark Quebbeman. He's the chairman of the IFI. Again, the website is www.indfast.org. There's tons of info on there. I noticed, Mark, that the fall meeting for 2014, it's happening in Newport, Rhode Island. Let me guess, there's going to be some golf played there and a few other activities, and you can certainly tee off on that if you want to. But, I was just thinking, has anyone ever thought of maybe like an IFI versus NFDA golf tournament?
Oh, that's a great idea. That's something that I think we'll have to think of. That would be a great idea. That would bring us all together, wouldn't it?
You would think. Now, let me ask you this: if you had to guess, would you say that there's more golfers probably on the distribution side or the manufacturing side?
Boy, I tell you, I've golfed with both distributors and manufacturers, and I'm not a really good judge because I'm a really crappy golfer myself. But I think that would be pretty tough. But there are a couple of people on the manufacturing side that are superb golfers. But I actually think that some of those same people are members of the NFDA through the supplier side. So
yeah.
Well, looking here on the website, there's a message from the chairman, and you're kind of mapping out your tenure. And I mean, there's a few things here that stick out in my mind. We've been talking a lot about training. I see that you referenced the partnership that you have with the Fastener Training Institute. We've been really excited to hear some of the developments there, Mark. And what do you have planned?
Well, the biggest thing that my predecessors, Steve Paddock and Dave Monty and Jennifer Friel and the ones that came before me were very focused on leading the IFI in trying to capitalize on and expand or enhance the value that we bring to our members. So that's my overall mission. Mm-hmm. And as I said, we're driven by the issues of the day, and probably the biggest issue in general for our institute right now is the availability of skilled labor.
Right.
Division II has been very instrumental with the college out in El Camino in training and developing machine operators for the aerospace industry. I think they've had a good measure of success with that. It applies very well for them because their manufacturing base is somewhat concentrated in Southern California for the most part.
Yeah.
For the other divisions, it's a little bit different. We're all spread out, especially Division I, but even Division III is pretty well spread out at least from Chicago to Detroit into Indiana, Ohio, and so on. So there's not as much a concentration. But we're looking at ways that we can provide some type of skills training to our members that they can send their employees to develop their skills and their knowledge about our industry and about what we do. we've got a gentleman by the name of Lawrence Klaus who's been very, very instrumental in working with Joe Greenslade and putting together some IFI-driven training programs. And then, of course, the work that Joe and the IFI is doing overall with FTI in our training programs has also been very, very effective and very successful. Last year, we started a grant program through the IFI where we would provide grants to member companies to receive training through the FTI IFI partnership.
Yep.
And we started off with a limited number of scholarships or grants, rather, that we were giving, thinking that they were going to last a year, and they're gone almost immediately as soon as you announce it.
Okay.
So, aside from the fact that it is free, or at least the seminar fees are covered, there's still a cost involved in sending someone to this and taking them out of your plant for a matter of days or a week or whatever, plus any travel and expense that they have. So I think people are definitely seeing a strong value in that. One of the other things that we've agreed to do is we're going to have 2 representatives in the Fastener Education Foundation on their board, which is that foundation is a charitable organization that is looking to, from what I understand, solicit charitable donations to support fastener training efforts on the part of the industry overall. And we're going to have a couple of delegates on that board of directors to assist with the development of that. And then the other thing that we haven't really been involved with to a great deal to this point is recruitment, primarily because we are outside of the aerospace industry. We're fairly decentralized as far as where we're all located.
Yep.
That's going to be a little bit more of a challenge, but one of the good things about the IFI is we can do things related to benchmarking and best practices, and we may not actually spearhead a recruiting effort, but we can do some benchmarking of those best practices from a recruitment standpoint and provide that information to our members. So that's another thing that I want to investigate a little bit more. A couple other things that we're looking at: government affairs is a major point of interest of all of our members. Especially, there's been a lot of discussion recently about conflict minerals.
Right.
And for the most part, I think there's a feeling that it may not necessarily apply to most of our member companies because what we manufacture generally does not include conflict minerals. However, we have our market, our customers that are coming to us demanding information and demanding that we follow certain procedures and protocols in reporting extensive information. So we're looking at how we can support our members by trying to standardize a response that fits the needs of our customers and our markets without having to expend a lot of our efforts internally to kind of recreate the wheel every single time someone comes in with a new program.
Yep.
Right. Do you have some kind of a task force that's been charged with that mission?
Actually, we've got a lobbyist in Washington, D.C. That is working in support of our efforts and our interests there. And he's working a lot with both the board of directors as well as Joe Greenslade's been very instrumental in putting together a draft of response that we might use. So there's no specific task force, I guess I would say, but there is a group of people that works somewhat on an ad hoc basis in putting that together, and that's going to be something that we're going to try to maybe formalize a little bit more in the coming year. And then there's a lot of other government issues that are related to, an increasingly activist labor relations board and how that impacts our member companies. Because I believe that most of our companies are non-union. So that's that's something that we need to be very, very concerned about. And any other government issues, there's all kinds of different tax regulations that are coming up, not to mention Obamacare and the impact that has on us. And so I think we've got a very tuned in lobbyist that supports us in Washington, keeps us very, very well informed, and advocates for us there. In next spring, we're probably, after the elections, we're going to be planning a IFI fly-in into the Capitol that our lobbyist is going to be arranging, and we'll be looking at a number of people going. Everybody's welcome to come into Washington, D.C., and we'll be arranging a series of meetings with key people from Congress, from the key districts and so on, that we have a message to send to.
Mark, we would be thrilled to cover that.
We'll keep you guys informed about what's going on with that, because that's something of a great deal of interest.
Yeah, also it's funny, backing up a couple of moments, when you mentioned the NLRB, my question was, I was going to try to sneak it in there, was you haven't heard any whisperings about a cold headers union in the out there in the sticks, have you?
No, and I don't think
it wouldn't surprise me.
No, with some of the things that the NLRB is considering, I don't think it bodes well for any company. To be honest with you, especially any small manufacturing company. And that's the bulk of what the IFI is. So I think it's something that, at minimum, we need to be very, very well informed about, and make sure that if we unite our forces, we can have our voices heard a little bit better than if we're just out here by ourselves.
Yep, that is the case in almost everything.
Yep, I like the sound of that. Well, it's not going to be a boring year, Mark, and I, for one, am grateful that I simply made it through the segment without too badly butchering your name again. But, we were talking before we did the segment a little bit about this kind of this merry-go-round conversation, and that is the relationship between the manufacturer and the distributor. I mean, it seems like a dialogue that will never end, and we keep raising the same issues. Of course, coming back to that Pac West meeting where we first met, and that was the subject that day. You think that topic will ever be resolved?
I don't think so, because in a lot of ways we have both manufacturers and distributors have some competing strategic objectives, or at least competing ways to achieve those objectives. But I guess the other thing is that, as we were saying before we started the conversation, I think that there is no game plan, and I don't know if there could ever be a game plan put together that would satisfy both sides. I do think that it has to be recognized that we all have companies that we are working in the best interest of that company. And the best interest for a manufacturing company is not always going to be the best interest for a distribution company, and vice versa. But that doesn't mean that we cannot both mutually benefit from cooperating with each other, with the understanding that sometimes those conflicting objectives are going to prevent us from cooperating, and that's fine. I think if we're open about that, and if you ultimately have good relationships with your manufacturing suppliers or your distributor customers, I think you can get past those types of issues. We've had some very, very good successes working as partners with some of our key distributors. I'm speaking from a Semblex standpoint now.
Mm-hmm.
And we've taken what maybe at one time appeared to be an adversarial or potentially adversarial relationship and decided to work together. And that doesn't mean that we're going to win every order, or that also doesn't mean that the distributor is going to win every order. But it means that together we're able to capture a customer, capture a market, and work together, and we can both be successful. So I don't think that there's an answer that you can just apply to every situation across the board. But I think individually, companies should be able to work together and attack the market, because ultimately we both want to satisfy our end customer.
Right. Well, Mark Quebbeman, I think that is a very, very pragmatic commentary on that subject. I tend to agree with you on whether or not it'll ever be solved, but I think we're going to have to leave it there for right now. And I'll add this as well. I think that given what you just said, you're going to make a fine chairman of the IFI for the coming year. And I also think that's probably a good reason for us to somehow follow up on this idea of creating an NFDA IFI golf tournament, and we can try and kick each other's butts out on the greens.
Well, I think that's an interesting idea, Eric, and I'll bring it up with the executive committee, and we'll have to try to look to do something like that. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Hey, you never know. We've hatched weirder ideas on this podcast before.
That's right.
Once again, the Industrial Fasteners Institute website, www.indfast.org. Mark Quebbeman is the chairman coming up for the next year. He's also with Semblex. Thank you so much for joining us, Mark.
Yes.
Thank you, Eric. Thanks, Brian.
It's our pleasure.
We'll be right back with more Fully Threaded Radio.
When people think Fastener Talk Radio, they think, but then they think of Fully Threaded Radio. Talk radio for the fastener industry.
Where do you go when you need fasteners fast, or a unique part that you can't live without? 3 words: Trinity Hardware Headquarters. You can easily find whatever you're looking for with our convenient online catalog that features over 30,000 different types of fasteners available in packaged quantities, product kits, and assortments. And now you can order over 2,000 of the most popular line items online 24/7, 365. Whether you're looking for standard inch and metric sizes or one of those hard-to-find parts, it's not hard to find at TrinityHardwareHQ.com. With over 400,000 square feet of warehouse space in locations throughout the Midwest and South, filled with over 18 million pounds of fasteners, Trinity Hardware Headquarters has exactly what you need. When you can't afford downtime, let Trinity Hardware Headquarters hold it together with the fasteners you need. Visit our website at www.trinityhardwarehq.com or call us at 888-232-1010. Trinity Hardware Headquarters, for parts done right.
You can't beat one-on-one personal meetings to maximize business opportunities, and that's exactly what NFDA Executive Sales Planning Sessions are all about. Hi everyone, this is Kevin Reidel of Hodel Natco and the NFDA, inviting you to join us in New Orleans June 17th through the 19th for our annual ESPS meeting, where one-on-one interaction with suppliers and potential customers will be our focus. If you're a longtime member, or if you've been thinking of joining the NFDA, I encourage you to attend this exciting meeting. In addition to high bandwidth interaction and other fantastic fastener industry business content, this meeting will feature a full complement of social opportunities, taking advantage of the best of the Big Easy, the historic city of New Orleans. Take a look at the NFDA website at www.nfda-fastener.org for details, and plan to attend the annual NFDA ESPS meeting June 17th through 19th. I hope to see you there.
For a selection of hundreds of thousands of fasteners, check out your local Fastenal store or Fastenal.com. We can stock domestic or internationally sourced product locally and keep your bin stock filled for you at no additional expense. We are a 9001-2008 certified company that's made a huge investment in quality control so you don't have to. And if you can't find it on our shelf, we can make it for you at the quantity you need at one of our many manufacturing facilities. Learn more by contacting your local Fastenal store or visiting Fastenal.com today.
Chewing gum dates back to the ancient Greeks who chewed resin from trees. Modern chewing gum was patented in the U.S. in 1869 by, believe it or not, a dentist. In 1928, another American invented bubble gum. Bubble gum comes in gum balls of all colors and sizes. But for blowing bubbles, nothing beats the chewy, gooey pink stuff in the twist wrap. It all starts with the gum base, the stuff that makes gum chewy. Traditionally, the base came from tree resin.
This is Rick Porter with Mid-Valley Distributors, the largest stocking distributor of fasteners in Central California. If we don't have it, weld it. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric back with you on the online Fastener Party Bungalow. Fully threaded.
Party bus, depending on where you're going, okay?
I have no idea what you meant by that. Well, as usual, we have these great conversations with our guests, and half of the good stuff that we cover happens before and after the segment. And we were talking with Mark Quebbeman, and one of those things that he said after we were all done, and this has been a theme that's been repeated over and over and over, is that one of the challenges for this whole reshoring movement, which they're seeing, is keeping up with the demand of qualified people to work in these positions that require skilled labor.
Yep, and our education system isn't really dealing with that properly. Okay.
Right. And of course, as you heard, and as I think most people are kind of gathering, there is a movement in the industry, I think, that is stressing more education, fastener-related education. So, we're just going to keep pushing that along.
Yeah, and not all of it's fastener-related. I mean, some of it just relates to being able to operate machinery. I mean, it can be anything. It's not, the training isn't really provided for that sort of stuff now.
Right.
So companies have to provide it themselves.
And I'd like to thank our guests on today's program. They were Mr. Mark Quebbeman of the IFI and Semblex. Also from GlobalFastenerNews.com, Jason Sandefur joined us for a couple of stories. And, of course, Mike McNulty had the Fastener News Report, this time joined by Holden Lewis of BB&T Capital Markets. Great job as usual, guys.
Yep.
We'll also thank our sponsors on today's show, and they were the title sponsors, Stelfast, for service you deserve and people you trust. It's Stelfast. And Trinity Hardware Headquarters. Trinity, for parts done right. Our other sponsors on the show today were Fastenal, Solution Industries, Buckeye Fasteners, Volt Industrial Plastics, and Fastener Technology International Magazine. Of course, we appreciate all of you listening in, folks, and we do appreciate the input when you send it. You can get with us anytime at the email address ftr@fullythreaded.com. We are also occasional users of Twitter and somewhat less occasional users of Facebook, less and less, but hey, we'll put some stuff out there.
Yeah, right.
So you might be asking yourself, Eric, what's all this about gum?
Yeah, Eric, what's all this about gum?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
You thought I wasn't going to ask, didn't you?
Well, I kind of set you up for it, so I'm glad you did. I guess it's just a symptom of being exasperated, again, with all of these just nutty, crazy headlines, and just trying to look for something just a little off the wall to, I don't know, as some people call it, like palate cleanse.
Yeah. Like a sorbet in between the courses.
Exactly. And what better time than the conclusion of another fine episode of Fastener Talk Radio. I was reading through the Wall Street Journal. This is actually back a couple of weeks. I saved it because it was just one of those things you have to keep. Story by a guy by the name of Joe Keenan. Don't know if he's any relation to Jay Keenan of Specialty Bolt and Screw, but actually, now that I look at it, it's slightly different spelling. Anyway, headline, at last, progress in the war on gum.
Oh, I knew it was bad for you. See, my parents were right.
Now, as though you had enough stuff to worry about, I think this is going to put it into perspective for you folks, and I'm just going to read a little bit about this because it's very good. No offense to any gum addicts. People are always complaining that there's nothing but bad news out there, but they're wrong. Market researchers estimate that the U.S. chewing gum sales have fallen 11% in the past 4 years, and that slide will keep on going. I can think of nothing more inspiring in recent history, having worked for 4 summers in a bubblegum factory while in college, and having never once thought about touching a stick of gum again. I can visualize no substance more disgusting, no habit more repellent, no entity more antithetical to human dignity than chewing gum. So these guys were kind of the same mind as your folks, Bri.
Wow, yeah, they should fit into England really well.
Singapore too, from what I hear.
Oh yeah, right, yeah. It's big fine if you spit it out on the pavement.
Story continues. The reports that sales are plummeting speak volume about man's ability to reinvent himself, to rehabilitate himself, to gaze directly into the abyss of vulgarity and pull back from the precipice. Yes, chewing gum was invented by humans in the Neolithic period, which gives you an idea of how classy it is. The longtime president of Mexico, General Antonio López de Santa Anna, brought chicle to the continent in hopes that it could be a rubber substitute. Instead, it was used in early American chewing gum. Santa Anna is best known for butchering Davy Crockett, Jim Bowie, and Colonel William Travis at the Alamo. Thus, in a sense, chewing gum is not only disgusting, it's unpatriotic.
And being caught and ransomed off to create the state of Texas as well.
Yes, nothing like a little bit of delicious hyperbole to stress that.
Right.
I'm not going to read the whole thing here, but I'm going to skip to the end. And folks, you can probably find this. It's from the March 29th Wall Street Journal. The key question about any society, as historian Paul Johnson once observed, is whether it can rise above the iniquities of the past. The fact that the American people are now voting with their molars to reject chewing gum shows that we as a nation are capable of repudiating the sins of our forefathers and wending our way inexorably toward the mansion on the hill. The sales reports also suggest that such abhorrent acts as spitting on the sidewalk, putting on makeup in public, clipping nails on commuter trains, and dropping candy wrappers on the floor of Carnegie Hall, as the slob sitting next to me last week did, could be things of the past. So the next time you see somebody chewing gum, mindful of the vile substance's historical antecedents, holler, "Remember the Alamo." I know I always do.
Well, most of those bad habits could also be any given day in Chicago, I would think. So another denizen of Chicago, the Wrigley Company, would be worried by that, I would think.
Yeah, I don't even know if they still have operations in Chicago, but I didn't even make the connection. Yeah, that was quite the empire built on, well, according to this guy, it's just a fortress of vulgarity.
Okay. I'm glad that we've been dragged back from the brink of despair and the precipice. Okay.
Well, that's what predominantly Fastener Talk Radio is all about, Bri, and I hope
thank God for that.
I hope you feel adequately cleansed.
I do. Now I feel sort of good in myself, actually.
Well, if you're still listening, folks, I just had to do it, and I sure do appreciate you listening, as always. And I think that's going to put episode 81 of Fully Threaded Radio in the books.
Or back in the wrapper.
For Brian Musker, this is Eric Dudas. Get out there, sell some screws, spit out that gum in a proper receptacle. And we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening. Till next time, folks.
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fasteners Clearinghouse. Music provided by Audionautics.